This is Joe narrating PowerPoint in Science in the Earth and Space Science unit. This is Lesson 4, Earth in the Solar System. It's found on page 534 in Kaplan. Key ideas are that a solar system is composed of a star like our Sun and the surrounding planets. These are all held together by gravity. Our solar system has 8 planets. The Earth itself has a satellite, or a moon, that revolves around the Earth every 27 days and goes through phases. So this is a theoretical view of our galaxy called the Milky Way galaxy. The Sun would be right where this arrow is, and the Sun itself is revolving around the center of the galaxy. It takes about 240 million years to make one complete cycle. So our Sun, as large as it is just one of many stars among the billions in the Milky Way galaxy. There are billions of stars and galaxies, and there are billions of galaxies. This is a Hubble long view into a very small section of space showing all the many galaxies. Each of these objects is a galaxy. They have different sizes and shapes and are seen from various perspectives, which makes them all look different. This is a drawing showing not to scale the Sun and the 8 planets that make up our solar system. So for example, you have on the left the Sun. There are various solar prominences and flares coming off the surface of the Sun. And then you have the 4 rocky planets just to the right of the Sun: Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Then you have the 4 gaseous planets: Jupiter, Saturn with its rings, Uranus, and Neptune. So these planets are not shown to scale as far as distance from each other. Here is a drawing to show what the planets would look like if placed on a football field as far as how far apart they are. You can see the Sun on the left, then you have the 4 rocky planets, which are very close to the Sun. Then you have the 4 gaseous planets, which are further from the Sun. Number 9 is Pluto on this drawing. Pluto was reclassified, so it is no longer considered a planet. But the point is that most of our solar system is empty space, and the inner planets are grouped relatively closely to the Sun, and our solar system is quite large. Again, here's a drawing of our solar system, not to scale, so that things are much more spread out in real life. On the lower left you see Pluto in parentheses because it's no longer considered a planet. On the left, the white object with a tail is a comet. Comets are basically dirty snowballs that are huge. As they come close to the Sun in their regular orbits, they lose material, and that is what the tail is composed of. On the right, between Jupiter and Mars, you see a bunch of small rocks. This is the asteroid belt. So asteroids are chunks of rock that did not form planets, so that they're more spread out. It just so happens that there's a large grouping of these rocks between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter, and we call that the asteroid belt. All these space objects are revolving around other objects. For example, our Sun is revolving around the center of the Milky Way. The Earth is revolving around the Sun, and the Moon is revolving around the Earth. This all happens in a clockwork fashion because of the force of gravity, which can be determined by a universal constant called g, which is the gravitational constant. M1 represents the mass of one of the objects, M2 is the mass of the other object, and r is the radius or the distance between the two objects. So the force of gravity between two objects can be determined by measuring their masses and the distance between them. The moon is an object that revolves around the Earth every 27 days, and because of the perspective seen from Earth, the moon seems to go through phases. The sun is on the left here. At new moon, the moon is between the sun and the Earth, so the light from the sun strikes the moon, is reflected back towards the sun, so the moon looks dark and we don't see it. As it rotates counterclockwise around, as it revolves counterclockwise around the Earth, we see a sliver of the moon called waxing crescent. As it continues further in its path around the Earth, we'll see a half moon, which is really called first quarter. As the moon continues around the Earth and is directly opposite the sun from the Earth, we will see a full moon. So these phases happen gradually every night, and a complete cycle of the phases takes 29 days. The reason that it's 29 days instead of 27 is that the Earth is also revolving around the sun. And this occurs every 365 days roughly, and that revolution of the Earth around the sun in one complete cycle is what we call a year. There have been 6 lunar landings from the United States to the moon. So 12 astronauts have walked on the moon. This is a picture of the Apollo 15 moon craft and one of the astronauts in 1971. So the lunar landing is seen in the background with the gold foil on the bottom. The lunar rover, which was basically a golf cart that the astronauts could drive around the surface of the moon, was taken up with the lunar landing craft. And there have been no returns to the moon since 1972 as far as manned missions, meaning missions with astronauts. That is it for page 534 in the calendar.